Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on your time zone. Welcome to my channel. My name is Ogbanje Joseph. Please subscribe to this channel, share, like, as well as drop a comment on the comment section. Our lecture today is titled Appointment, Reception, and Recall of Diplomats. Now, diplomats are basically a country's representatives in other countries. They are expected under all circumstances to comport themselves very well in the country of their accreditation. This is optimally expected because they are seen as the representatives of their nation and culture. Literally, they are figured as their country's head of state or their people in entirety because they are the ones being represented, okay, abroad, and as a head of state they cannot afford to misbehave. Some scholars have posited that ambassadors or diplomats are emissaries sent from their countries to go and tell lies abroad. What this simply means is that they are expected under all circumstances to polish the character and image of the countries of their accreditation. Now, let us look at appointment of ambassadors. Appointment of ambassadors. In almost all modern states, the head of state and government makes all appointments of diplomats or ambassadors to foreign countries, depending on the constitution of such a country. The appointment is based upon the commendation of the Minister for Foreign Affairs, the Parliament, or the General Assembly. The appointment of diplomatic officers is usually regulated by the constitution of each state. Originally, appointments of ambassadors are expected to be based on educational qualifications, experience, and age emanating not only from one but the combination of all these criteria. Such appointment would benefit immensely from the expertise, savvy, and maturity of those appointed. In other words, the appointment of diplomats is expected to be a career thing that is nominated from the vista of career diplomats who are schooled in the arts of international relations. These set of appointees will be at home with the culture and manner of behavior obtainable between and among states. In selecting career diplomats, Nigeria, for instance, can select from the staff of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the officials of Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, tutors in Foreign Affairs Academy, or lecturers of political science or international relations in the nation's tertiary institutions. However, in most developing countries, political appointees have inundated the business of foreign office as diplomats. In other words, ambassadorial appointment, have often been based on being a member of linchpin of a political party, quota system, or federal character in federal states, such that architects, business tycoons, and contractors are appointed in preference to career diplomats who are grounded in interstate behavior and etiquette. These non-professional diplomats in most countries, commit blunders in form of combative disposition, name calling, and other behavior that could tarnish the image of the country abroad. Now let us look at reception of diplomatic officers. Now, it is universally accepted principle that any state which has full sovereignty has the absolute right as a practical political necessity to send diplomatic officers and the obligation to equally receive such officers, to help in conducting their negotiations as well as maintaining their relations with foreign countries on matters of mutual concern. States are also bound by international law to receive diplomatic officers accredited to them from other countries, principally for negotiation. In international politics, any full sovereign country which desires its voice to be heard among other countries receives and sends diplomatic envoys, without which it would become practically irrelevant and will have no influence in international affairs. As already pointed out, certain individuals appointed as envoys can be rejected by the receiving states for some reasons. In international law, international law gives no right to a state to insist upon reception of an individual appointed by it as diplomatic officer. Now, every modern state can refuse to receive as diplomatic officer an individual objectionable to it. And any country that refuses to receive an individual officer cannot be compelled to specify the type of objection it has or to justify its reasons for objection. For instance, Italy refused to receive Mr. Kelly as ambassador of the United States of America in 1885 because Mr. Kelly protested in 1871 against the annexation of the Papal States. To avoid conflict arising from the rejection of diplomatic officer by one country, many countries of the world have adopted the practice of never appointing an individual as ambassador until it has ascertained beforehand whether the individual to be appointed would be persona non grata. Based on international law, a country which does not object to the appointment of a certain individual when its opinion was asked but beforehand is definitely bound to receive such an individual as a diplomatic officer. Similarly, in a situation where a particular state does not object to the reception of an individual as diplomatic officer credited to such state, his letter of credence is received from him by the head of state and government of that country, and then a red carpet reception organized for him by the host country. It will be noted that the mode of reception accorded a diplomatic officer differs accordingly depending on the class for which the officer in question belongs. The official recognition accorded to the diplomatic officer makes him to be officially recognized and equally enable him to officially commence the exercise of his function. The tenure of a diplomatic officer is considered not from the time he was received, but from the time when his credentials were handed over to him on leaving his home state. Now let us look at recall of diplomats. Now, to recall a diplomat means that the country that sent him wants him either to return home briefly or for a long time. Which could be caused by any of the following. Number one, a recall to briefly consult with him on a particular burning issue of commerce or political importance. For example, the Nigerian ambassador to the Republic of South Africa was recalled when General Sani Abacha and Dr. Nelson Mandela was pouring venom on each other as a reaction to the hanging of Kensaro Wiwa and 8 other Ogoni activists, hanged on November 10, 1995, as well as a series of human rights violations in Nigeria under the administration. Number two, a recall could be on account of misdemeanor of a diplomat. For instance, if a diplomat is accused of any criminal act, such as smuggling or drug peddling, though this rarely happens, because luggage belonging to diplomats are often exempted from law enforcement agents' check due to the diplomatic immunity they enjoy. Then number 3, another account on which a diplomat could be recalled is if a diplomat is religiously standing the ground of his own country as directed from home. If this position is not comfortable to the country where he is accredited to, and he is either declared a persona non grata or the environment is no longer safe enough for him to properly carry on carrying on with his duties, he would be withdrawn or recalled. This was the case in Nigeria when Western countries such as US or Canada, etc., recalled their ambassadors because they were constantly condemning the repressive rule of late General Abacha. It is important to note that the recall of a diplomat is a pointer to the beginning of the actual deterioration of the relationship between or among countries. It should also be noted that globalization has facilitated the recall of envoys in contemporary times. Thank you very much.